My name is Nigel Perring. I'm a chartered surveyor and I have my own company called Property Consultants UK Limited, which specialises in planning applications, planning appeal work and also telecommunications work both in South West Wales and throughout the whole entire UK. As a chartered surveyor and an ex-examiner for the Royal Institution of Chartered Surveyors, I believe it is very essential to bring on young people into the profession. And to that end, we needed a junior, so I took on a young local lad to try and train him up to become a chartered surveyor, even paying for his university tuition fees and also trying to get him through ultimately his chartered surveying exams. Now, when he joined us, he didn't know anything literally, but we trained him, and in the end he was dealing with clients very efficiently. As part and parcel of his role, because he had an interest in IT, he basically took over the computer systems in terms of specifying the computers, working out or dealing with our ISP providers and ensuring that we had a very efficient computerized system. So to that extent he virtually had control of the system. And at the time we had this employee working for us, business was beginning to gradually tail off due to the economic conditions in the country. And rather than fire this individual, I thought, right, let's try and make his transition as easy as possible. And to that end, I'd arranged for him to work for me part-time and work for a friend of mine in Bristol. After coming back from holiday, I noticed that I'd lost 10 days of emails. And of course, I didn't really know what to do. So my first port of call was my ISP provider. And when they found out that these emails had been downloaded, they suggested that I get in touch with the police, which I duly did. Got in touch with Abergavenny Police Station. I was interviewed by 2 local police officers and they suggested that they would contact the high-tech crime unit at Cwmbran, which I didn't even know existed. The officers from high-tech crime then came to interview me and found out all about the case and one thing and another. And I have to say they were very diligent in pursuing this case, so much so that they interviewed both my ISP provider and my ex-colleague's ISP provider, and indeed the people who actually supply the ISP provider with their section of the internet. And it was at this stage that we found out not only had he stolen my emails for 10 days, but he'd also stolen all my intellectual work for the past 15-20 years that was on the server, obviously related to my computer. And to me that was the greatest crime, but it's only through the high-tech crime unit that I was able to discover this, and then obviously the Crown Prosecution Service got involved and he was convicted ultimately.
I mean, basically in regards to this is what we class as a Section 1 Computer Misuse Act offence, which is unlawful access to data. And in this case, I mean, we show that Gwent Police, and certainly the high-tech crime unit, has the capability to investigate offences which sometimes are classed as hacking offences. The whole thing could have been prevented quite easily right at the very beginning if the passwords had been changed when the employee left the business. This would have basically saved a lot of time and a lot of effort afterwards trying to investigate the particular offence. And it didn't cost very much to do it. That's just knowing how the computers work. And simply changing the password takes a couple of minutes. And that could have prevented straight away any access to the emails having occurred in the first place.
My role as the SPOC, or the single point of contact, and that of my colleagues throughout Wales, is to actually give advice and guidance to the businesses and to be on hand if they do become victims of e-crime, as a liaison between them and the investigating officers or the high-tech crime units. In this way we can actually give them some feedback and keep them sort of involved with what's actually going on, and we can be involved ourselves. We'd like to try and do this during the incident, but with the case study with Mr. Perrin, I was able to go in afterwards and actually still give him some help and advice and give him some guidance on how to stop this from happening again or prevent this from happening again.
I suppose the real problem is that I'm a bit of a traditionalist. I'm a traditional chartered surveyor. I was brought up in the professions where basically your word is your bond. You had a handshake with your client and that was good enough. I think business has now changed to the point where you have to have processes. Everything has to be written down, particularly with regard to employee law. Now, as a small practitioner, you're more interested in trying to do a good job for your clients to earn a fee to keep the business going. You haven't really got time to think about detailed HR processes or policies like a larger firm would do. Yes, there's a lot of help in terms of the local authority, in terms of Federation of Small Business, but again, you need to have time to access that information. So I suppose the word of warning that I would have for small businesses, yes, do the business, do as well as you can, but also have an eye on the proper processes, the legal technicalities. Certainly it has put me off hiring future employees, which is a great shame for the economy, because if I was to take on 2 employees, then hopefully the business would grow. We might take on 2 more, and that's how this economy is going to get going again. Small businesses will drive this economy, not your big multinationals. But in order to do that, small business must have an eye to the process, and obviously the legalities associated with employing people, which is a minefield in itself. And certainly before I take on another employee, I will make sure that they have a cast iron contract, that if they do digress and do things that they shouldn't do, then you're able to seek the appropriate remedies in court.